अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं इकरार उल हसन हूँ। मैं तारुफ करवाता हूँ एंड्रयू वाइट, जो कि ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के उस्ताद भी रहे हैं।
Firstly, Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम। You learn something from these young. अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं इकरार उल हसन हूँ और हम बरतानिया की तारीख़ी कैम्ब्रिज यूनिवर्सिटी में इस वक्त मौजूद हैं और यहाँ एक बहुत ही शानदार इवेंट जारी है। मैंने आपको बताया कि ग्लोबल बिज़नेस एम्पोरियम के ज़रिए तमाम ग्लोबल लीडरशिप एंड बिज़नेस मैनेजमेंट सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम यहाँ, और इसको अभी तक जो लीड किया है वो शख्सियत हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। मैं तारुफ़ करवाता हूँ एंड्रयू वाइट, जो कि ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के उस्ताद भी रहे हैं। ट्रांसेंड.स्पेस के नाम से एक कंपनी है जिसके CEO हैं, ट्रेनर हैं, और इनके साथ आज मैंने बहुत वक्त गुजारा। इनका जो ट्रेनिंग सेशन था उससे बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला। तो कोशिश करते हैं कि ज़रा आप इस कैमरे के तवज्जुद से आपको भी कुछ सीखने का मौका मिले। एंड्रयू, thank you so very much for your time, and it was amazing to attend that session with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So actually, do you really think that these kind of training sessions, they actually bring some change in an individual's life, or either it's like they just people listen and go back and forget each and everything?
Firstly, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Wonderful to be with you, and thank you for taking the time to
Sir,
talk to me.
thank
And
you.
it's a great question.
Sir.
In my experience, I think I've moved from being what I consider a lecturer, where I was just doing PowerPoint slides. And sometimes things go in, but after 10 minutes, you see people switch off. In today's world, they're on their phones, into what I would now call development. And what do I mean by development? In development, you give them a process, but they have to put the inputs into it. If
Right.
they don't put the inputs into it, then they might learn the process, but they're actually not getting anywhere. And that's what we were doing today. It was development work,
Exactly, that's what I see.
not just teaching.
That's
so
true.
yes, I used some slides, but the slides were there to frame a process. We were using something called Immunity to Change, developed by a good friend of mine, Bob Keegan, who's a professor at Harvard University. I framed it with my own stories. I use it a lot with the CEOs I work with.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, it does bring about profound shifts in people. Because they're bringing their own stories, they're bringing their own experiences, their own challenges to it. Therefore, it has more impact on them when they leave.
Exactly, and they were relating each and everything with
Exactly. Yeah.
So not even a single second we got bored because of that interaction and interactive. So do you really prepare your presentations and training sessions for a different audience every time, or like?
If I'm honest, no.
So we have all basic issues and basic problems.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing, isn't
Okay.
it? I mean, I think we had over 65 nationalities in the room.
Yep.
Right, so we had diversity from a country point of view.
Exactly.
We had some 16-year-olds who were at school. We
And-
had some people who were at university. We had some people who were running businesses.
That's true.
And how many times did they say, we got into groups and we realized we're facing some of the same challenges. We're facing some of the same difficulties.
Yeah.
The same barriers that are holding them back from being the leader they want to be, or, having the career that they want. And so, and even though I've heard that before, I'm continually amazed.
Yeah.
That we think we're different. We grow up in different places. We speak different languages. We're different religions. We're different this, we're different that. But when you get them together, actually, there's not a huge amount of difference.
Yeah.
What can be different, and where I do have to do a bit more preparation, is where I'm working with what I call an intact team from a company.
Okay.
And there you've got more of the company issues coming through. So often, yes, you still find that some of the personal things that they're dealing with are similar, but the companies are often in very different places. They're facing different challenges. Yeah. So you're having to weave them in more. With a group like this, we're dealing with people from multiple different worlds and companies, and so less so.
Right.
To be honest, it's really about listening.
Exactly.
And I do a lot of that in the moment, a lot of that in the room. I'm bringing out a lot of their stories, their ideas, their insights. And you can watch when one person has an insight, it like ricochets across the room. Yeah. And it helps other people understand their situations as well.
So how often do you attend these kind of gatherings where people from 60 countries are gathered? I mean, is this a very common thing here? Or not that common?
I think in the business school world, I would perhaps have 30 nationalities
At the most.
in the room. I think it's remarkable what you guys are doing. It really is. To be able to convene this number of nationalities. And to be honest, it's not the usual suspects either. I mean, sometimes you find these events, 60% are British, American, Australian,
exactly.
Northern European. The fact that you're able to bring parts of the world, I mean, I sat in front of a guy from Nepal. I think one of the prize winners today was from Uzbekistan.
Yes.
We had people from Zambia, from so many different countries that often aren't represented. And so it is truly remarkable what you're able to do and who you're able to bring together.
And a person of your stature, even you think you learn something from these young.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I think what I saw a lot of them struggling with, their courage, watching them find their voice amongst, there were some pretty senior people in the audience today. And sometimes it takes time for some of the youngsters. And I did at one point have to say and I was really grateful to them. There were about 5 people in the room who regularly spoke out. They lift everybody. Yeah. They give people confidence. They bring insights, and they did. But at one point I had to kind of quieten them a little just to allow some of the other voices. Because I sensed as we got through the day that some of the people who perhaps hadn't been speaking up at the beginning, because it can be intimidating when you're 16 or 20 to come into a room like that. Some people clearly weren't intimidated.
That's true.
We need them. They get the thing going.
Exactly.
And in some ways it's the harder job. But then we need to allow some of those other voices to come in as well. And
we hear a specific word almost in every training session and every these kind of activities, that is leadership.
Yes.
For my audience, can you please just tell us what is actually leadership and what qualities should be in a leader?
So I think leadership can mean almost like there's a continuum or there's a spectrum. Mm-hmm. You can have people who are leaders by virtue of their title and their status. Yeah. Political leaders of big companies. They come up through processes or hierarchies, and it's about the title and it's about the status. On the other hand, you can have people who are trying to create social movements. I spoke to somebody today he'd created a really interesting piece of technology in Bangladesh. It was for filtering floodwater and making it drinkable.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And he's creating a social movement. He's training people out in communities to know how to use the technology, but also how to respond to climate crisis, how to respond to flooding, etc. That's not a hierarchy. That's not about status. That's about him having an impact and creating a movement. That's a very different type of leadership. And in some ways that's much harder because you don't have the levers to pull that the people over here have. So I think leadership is both. Mm-hmm. Both are important. What they, often I think where I see them fail is they can be very conceptual. So they can talk a lot, particularly these ones, lots of big words, lots of grand vision statements, and actually that doesn't mean a lot to people who are 5-6 levels down a hierarchy.
Exactly.
So how do you make the vision real? That's, I think, a really important skill. How do you really listen to people, get their views, their opinions, weave them into a bigger narrative? Okay. You can't listen to everybody. So, of course. But listening comes up time and time again as a really important skill. Mm-hmm. And I think, how do you work with what we call human energy? Human energy, we all know what it means, but it's very hard to define.
Exactly. In words, obviously. It's not something tangible.
But we all know we can go into an organization and the organization feels stuck. It's not really going anywhere, or it may be even going down. Right. We also know other organizations are full of energy. They're going up. How do you work with that? And some of the best leaders know how to do that. Okay. They're very inspirational. They know how to weave individuals into a bigger plan. My personal view is that that's going to be the thing that differentiates organizations in the future. Essentially, the organizations that get the best out of human potential. I think you're doing that here. You're identifying human potential and growing and nurturing human potential. So these are the organizations that I think are going to do really well, and they'll attract the best people, they'll get the best performance, and it's about bringing people together to do that.
Yeah. So I'm again very proud that the founding members of this symposium is like they all are from Pakistan. So I would request you to address my audience in Pakistan. What do you think about Pakistan, and do you have any message for my fellow countrymen?
Yeah, well, I am honoured to be here, firstly, to be invited in to what you're doing, to what's been created. It's just a real privilege to be part of it. So I think it's, you are a wonderful organisation, and that's way beyond Pakistan on the global stage. I think it's incredible.
That's the vision of
Yeah. And all I can say is I've just got so many friends from many walks of life from Pakistan. And so I've got, in my home, I've got some art.
Okay.
And I would love to visit at some point. So it's a country that touches me many times over many years through many different wonderful people.
So let me take the opportunity to invite you to Pakistan. I hope
Thank you.
We will host you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Done.